A couple of years ago, before even attending, I gave the Homesteaders of America conference a whole bunch of grief about something that I viewed that wasn't right. What I'd said was that all the speakers that they had were giving talks that were very basic, and even people that had been homesteading for even a few years probably already knew the information that they were going to be talking about. Getting down to the last of the pig food. They're actually not even supposed to be here. They were supposed to go off to processing last week. But with the world being as crazy as it is right now, our butcher was actually unable to get cartridges for the stun gun he uses, and he had to postpone our day for processing by about a week. So not the end of the world, but definitely not the best thing either. The biggest issue with that whole thing is really only that I have to get some extra food, which is not the end of the world. Despite my previous comments about Homesteaders of America, I decided to go down and see what all the fuss was about. See, I can't know it for sure, but it was almost as if my comments were taken seriously by Homesteaders of America if they saw them. This year, there were some really in-depth talks. There were in-depth talks on pig nutrition, which is very important to us. There were a whole host of topics that went beyond just the standard random homesteading topic for beginners. You know, while it's great to go to a conference like this and see what lots of other people are doing and bring back ideas of things that maybe you can add to your homestead, a lot of us have been doing this a little while now, and we're kind of settled into a routine. Not that we're in a place where we don't want to add anything, but the bulk of our new is already on board, and what we've got going on now is kind of like, yeah, we'll maybe add this, maybe we'll try that. Bringing things in once in a while, but most of what we're doing is trying to dig in deeper to what we're already doing here on the homestead. So I went down there, I had a really good time. I will link the video from Homesteaders of America up in the corner, and you can check that out. But going to the conference made me realize something even more important in its purpose than just conveying information. You know, we live in this digital age where if you want to learn how to raise chickens, there are hundreds of thousands of resources out there, whether they're YouTube, whether it's websites or blogs or things like that. There's all this information out there. You can go find that. If you want to raise pigs, there's information on that. But what you can't do just by hopping on YouTube or looking through blogs, or certainly what you can't do to the same extent, is build a foundation and build a network of people who you can go to for information and have an actual relationship with. See, just a couple minutes ago, I mentioned that our pigs had gotten pushed from the butcher we were using this year, and I had them lined up for next week. But in today's crazy world, that call from the butcher could have very well been, hey, I can't get ammo for my stun gun, or I can't take your pigs. I'm not going to be able to get them in anytime in the near future. I'm just way too busy. You're seeing it already if you're a member of any homesteading or farming groups on Facebook. There are people looking for butchers constantly. Hey, I need to get an animal in. Where can I get it done? And right now, it's a little bit of a tumultuous time if you're trying to get an animal processed and you don't already have a date lined up. On that call where the butcher told me he couldn't do my pigs this week and we needed to wait a little bit, I actually said, okay, can we book next year's date right now? Because people are booking up super fast and they're booking a year out already. And would you believe it, right now the date is November 18th, and he already had every single week in November next year booked except for the week of the 6th. And my 10 pigs for next year have just taken that entire week. Think about that for a minute. This butcher is new. They've only been around about a year now. This is their first full season operating. And they're already booked 100% for the month of November next year. Meaning if you live in the area and you want to get a big process next November, he can't do it. He's sold out at this point. So what does that mean? Why does this have to do anything with Homesteaders of America? Had something happened with this butcher, I would have needed a network of people that I know and could trust to help me get a job done. That job could have involved doing the pigs ourselves and getting everything cut up and packaged and put together so that it could go out to the rest of the people that are purchasing pork from us. But that job also could have looked like something as simple as, does anybody have a butcher that they know of who can get an animal in for me? If it could get 2 pigs, if they could get 3 pigs, if they could get 5 of the pigs, if they can only get 1 of the pigs in. Figuring out some sort of plan to get these animals, which are ready to go, from our farm to processing. It takes more than just one person to do that sometimes, and having a network of people that I can talk to and trust and know where they're coming from and know that they have some experience, that's huge. And here's where not just Homesteaders of America, but all of these homestead gatherings that you see popping up are really important. See, Homesteaders of America was great and I really enjoyed it, but it's in Virginia and a lot of people that came to it were based in the South. I'm not faulting anybody for this. A lot of the information that was passed along from many of the speakers and many of the people I spoke to, it was a little bit Southern biased. You know, I went to a great talk with Kaylee from the Homestead, and her topic was essentially prepping your bees for winter, overwintering your bees, how to keep your bees alive through winter. And she lives in Virginia. That's where she's from. That's where all of her experience with bees is from. Living up here in New Hampshire, where we get a lot colder than down in Virginia, it would have been interesting to hear that talk from somebody that was in the same gardening zone as me, or maybe even somebody colder, maybe somebody who lives up in Canada. Maybe they're in zone 3, it's even colder up there, and they've got some tips and tricks lined up for keeping their bees alive through the winter. Homesteading, just like gardening, I'm realizing, is very regional. It's not a set it and forget it mentality where this is how you do it and this is what you're going to do, and this is what happens in the spring, this is what happens in the summer, fall, winter, right through. That is totally out the window when you're talking about a homesteader who lives in, say, Arkansas versus a homesteader that lives in New Hampshire or Maine. So while a shelter like this might work for your pigs, if you live in, say, New Mexico or someplace that doesn't get snow, someplace that doesn't get super, super heavy winds, you don't get hurricanes, this sort of shelter with just some pallets thrown up and a tarp, that might work year round in some of those regions. But if I tried to keep this shelter up through the winter, the snow would fall and land on this tarp and it would fall in and this shelter would be kaput. The only reason I can keep this shelter the way it is because I hoped and prayed and kept my fingers crossed that we weren't going to get any snow before the pigs had to go for processing. That wasn't the case last year. As you saw, we had snow in October. So a lot of what I'm doing here, and I'm not advocating for it, this was just hoping. What Homesteaders of America made me realize was that while it's great to have a solid knowledge base and connect with people all over the country who are doing the same things you are, really it's important to remember that they're not necessarily doing the same things you are. And while you can stay plugged into kind of the global farming, homesteading movement, you've really got to build a solid foundation of local support as well. And that can be local as in your state, local as in your town, local as in your neighborhood even. You know, the neighborhood thing can go so far as to, you know, oh, I'm raising ducks, you're raising chickens, let's trade eggs. Oh, I'm raising pork, you're raising cows. Maybe we should work together to kind of trade our protein sources off. But it can expand further than that. It can expand into your state or region. You know, we live in New England. There's a great group on Facebook that I actually kind of run. Make a little bit of a shameless self-plug here, called Homesteaders of New England. We spend a lot of time, the admin team, keeping that group to just New Englanders. You know, if I see somebody try to join the group and they're from California, not to be a jerk, but it's a lot different in California than it is here in New England. So I usually won't approve those membership requests when I see them come through. And that's not for any reason other than I want to keep the group focused on homesteading in New England, because I feel like that's where we can get the best bang for the buck and the best source of info for everyone that's in the group. With that said, I want to make a little bit of an announcement. I have been working with Brian from the Homestead Journey podcast to come up with something of an event for New England and the Northeast next year. This is not something that's going to replace Homesteaders of America. It's not something that is meant to be bigger than anybody else or compete with anyone else. This is just something where we saw a need as people who lived in the Northeast for something that was regionally focused. And talking after Homesteaders of America, it was a thought that was shared by a lot of other people who came from my region down to Virginia. So we're working to make it happen. We don't have a date yet. We don't necessarily have a venue set yet. We kind of sort of do. I've just got to look into everything and confirm that. I can say that it will probably be located in southwestern New Hampshire. That seems to be a pretty good central location to catch people from upstate New York, Maine, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, from down south. It's kind of a central location. It's where I live, so it is nice for that, since I'm going to be kind of doing a lot of work to put this together. And it is going to be small. We're not going to be bringing in 5,000 people like Homesteaders of America, or at least I hope not. We're not going to be ready for that the very first year. It's going to be a relatively small venue. I do want to keep it close to our farm as well, so that I can bring the infrastructure to do some fun on-hand workshops. You know, maybe we're going to do a chicken processing workshop where if people want to come out and actually learn to process chickens there, we can do that. It's something that we can have happen. So here's kind of what I want everyone to do. If you are in New England and you're interested in staying up to date with what's going on with this, head over to that Facebook group, Homesteaders of New England. We don't allow animal sales, just as a point blank blanket statement to make. There was a much larger Homesteaders of New England group. It had over 20,000 people in it, and that was shut down a couple years ago because of animal sales. Whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, it is Facebook, it's their space, it's their rules. That is something we have to deal with, so we don't allow animal sales in there. But if you want to know more about this, if you want to connect with a group of like-minded people in our region, definitely check out the group. We'd love to have you as part of it. I will be keeping everybody up to date with the goings-on for the gathering here on the channel, but I'll also post more stuff in there. We'll be getting feedback. You know, we'll be looking for people's input. What do they want to see? What do they not want to see? Probably that's where we'll also be putting out the request for vendors. If you're a small farm business and you want to bring things to sell or possibly network with other people. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. I know it was a relatively quick one with a lot of talking, but it was something that I wanted to mention. It was something I've been thinking about the last few days, and something I've been talking with others kind of frequently about lately. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get out in front of it. I want to talk about it, and then I will put the bug in everybody's ear about this whole gathering that's going to be happening. Plan on sometime summer of 2022, maybe August, maybe September. Again, I don't want to interfere with any other big homesteading or farming events going on. So the Mother Earth News Conference, Homesteaders of America, those are all things I'm going to pay attention to. I want to make it accessible for everybody that wants to attend either one event or all of the events. That can happen. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.